We are delighted in fact, thank you, Vishal. We have a great guest here. You can welcome him. This is Atharva Desai logging in from San Francisco. Atharv is, see, all of us love speed in our lives, but Atharv actually embraces speed. So Atharv is a trained Formula car racer, a young boy, and looking for amazing journey ahead. We are very delighted to welcome you, Athar. I'll read out your formal introduction little for most of us to understand. You're a trained professional with a passion for motorsport racing and race car engineering. You've been a part of various go-karts and Formula cars. You're a development driver for Arden Motorsport UK. And Athar, we look forward to hearing from you something absolutely different on how we manage speed and efficiency. I think Athar drives both together. Thank you, Athar, for joining.
Of course, and thank you for having me here. It's been great, and I really do appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome, Athar. Looking forward to hearing from you. Method in Madness. Love that.
Yes, I love that slogan too. It's a very nice punchline, and it's also just it's a great small little line to really show how much racing really impacts one person. It's really a different type of like motivation, dedication, not only just for motorsports, but for any other type of sports as well. So thank you for introducing me, and thank you for the opportunity here. I would like to introduce myself again, just a little bit briefer. As I've been introduced, my name is Atharva Desai. I'm a Formula racing driver, and I currently live in the UK to pursue my education path into motorsports engineering. And at the same time, my goal is to become a motorsports driver and to have the two skills of both being able to go towards racing from an engineering standpoint and also a racecraft standpoint. So yes, I'm very much looking forward. I remember when I was around 6 years old, I actually sat in a go-kart for the first time. It was one of the toy cars powered by batteries, and it was bought for me like a very long time ago. And I remember my brother, who was almost like 2 or 3 at the time, he was fascinated by just me going around the cul-de-sac, going around in circles in the car. So I would have him on my lap, and I would drive him around. And it's like, even though it was a very small car, it's a small go-kart, it was very fast, and young me really didn't have any fear. And who would have thought that 6-year-old me, completely oblivious to the fact that I would now be pursuing this as a career, as my full-time thing. So it's quite interesting what life has for you and has as a bank. And yeah, I mean, I'm very thrilled. It was only up until 9 is when I started turning this turning this racing into a full-fledged career. When I was around 6, that's when I had my go-kart, but I was still very young at the time. But right until I came up when I was 9 years old, I started watching TV in the Formula cars. I watched Formula One on TV, and I was immediately fascinated by it. I would actually have my cheeks pressed against the TV like that, just enjoying Michael Schumacher going around the track at just incredible speeds with incredible skill. I knew at that point that I wanted to do motorsport racing and that this was going to be my career option. And the first thing I told my dad, I told him, I want to be in this. I want to be in this. I pointed at the TV and I said, can I go here? Obviously, a 9-year-old can't be in F1, but we started with the next best thing, which was the go-karting. So I went to a go-karting track and I started actually going into their leagues, their junior leagues, right? And after some training, so actually I had a 10-day, 3-day training course to get acclimatized with the car because it was my first experience in racing. So I took a 3-day training, I successfully passed it, and on the day I graduated, there was a league race at the time. And I wanted to try it because there was all the experienced drivers who were there, and it was just me alone who had just graduated from junior racing. I hate to admit it, but I got totally crushed by the opponent. But I still managed to get at a respectable eighth place, which is not bad considering the amount of experienced drivers. So, I mean, me not knowing that eighth place, looking back, eighth place at that point with no experience was quite a feat in it by itself. But young me and still right now, I'm always going for wins. So does the past me. Wants always going for the wins. And that's when I started practicing, coming back to the track every day, having a routine cycle, multiple days from multiple hours every week, come to the track, come practice. And then next season, which is the whole like start of the season and the points get accumulated at the end of the entire like width of the races, I got first place. The entire championship. I won it on my rookie year and with an astonishing lead from second place. That amount of experience and the amount of competition with the much more experienced drivers who came from like very rich racing families and rich racing backgrounds and I was able to beat them just on a rookie season. Then I went over into the senior season, and in that, different cars, faster cars, and I was still very young at that time, but I still was able to beat the competition and compete against a few teenagers, and I still won against there. So that's when I started really getting myself into racing, right? And I said, this is a career option for me, and this is exactly what I wanted to do in my life. So coming over towards speed and racing, it's everything is an experience there, right? The summit is all about customer experience, and racing offers no little than that. It's has a lot of range and a lot of benefits towards it. Not only that, drivers, paddock, VIP guests, and any marshal as well, they have the customer experience of being in a motorsport event in their lifetime. Because the customer wants that kind of wow factor, that sort of story to go back to their friends and family and just initiate a conversation, get that word of mouth, what can only come through experience. So let's take myself for an example. I have treated myself, or looking back this time, I've treated myself as more of a startup business. If you compare myself as a driver, I'm gonna kind of assimilate it to a startup business. What I meant by that is let's take my starting career in racing when I was around 9 years old. I was always in front of the public, whether it be in racing, whether it be in talking with people, going up into higher leagues of racing, whether it be starting from karting, going up to club karting, then nationals karting, and then finally the Formula cars when I just almost hit teenage years. That sort of step is the experience that comes from myself, but I'm still developing myself, right? And then as a 9 year old, I'm always shown to the public, but I was very unaware of that, right? It's only now recently that, or not even recently, quite some time ago, that you realize that the social aspect and the experience aspect of keeping yourself into the social world is a very important it's very important, and it's a very crucial skill and crucial for you to understand that a social experience is exactly what customers want and what you as a driver are striving to find, right? So coming up to my next leagues of racing, I am a Formula 4 driver, and I'm actually going into more international driving. I'm going into a series in India as well as a series in the Asian continent. There is a Formula 4 race series, and the global reach and the amount of people attending scales up to when you start as karting. I started at bare bones karting, like the minimum grassroots level, and then bringing it up to nationals level karting. It will only take you so far, but then is the next step, the Formula 4, the exposure of real a high-end experience racing. The start of it is exactly what I developed myself for, the experience I give to others, and the sort of joy I give into winning or into like performing into the race. Of course, my friends, family, as well as my fans, I'm giving them this experience. They're with me and in the journey of going into the Formula Racing Series, and it's completely understandable how they want to come back with a story on how this person, let's say Atharva, is racing and he's going overseas to race in Formula 4s, going up into a bigger reach. So, like I was saying, I'm mostly in the second stage of my startup business, and I would say, like, I would class, as I've said multiple times before, I would classify myself as a startup business. I haven't been, or I will rephrase that. It is a very steady progression towards getting to the top on the pinnacle of motorsports, as it is a huge international sport with limitless capabilities, and the sky is the limit there. Obviously, the sort of pathway up towards that can only start from a grassroots level and slowly but surely get up towards there. Now, going into international Formula 4 is that first step and that big step as well, to international and stage 2 racing, right? So going towards there, we're all fighting for the win. The ultimate goal to win is what creates that joy of excitement. That person that you know from meeting just at a grocery store, or you met a driver at a meet and greet, and then finally you see him over social media or over word of mouth that he won one of the biggest championships, or he won a race that was very important to him, and you slowly but surely track his progress, right? So customers, they look for that sort of experience, that sort of joy into racing. Being with the driver, a driver is the one sitting in the car, but it's also the fans, the friends, the family who are with you throughout the journey and is guiding you towards becoming that sort of star in racing. And that's the goal, to get into Formula One. That is the pinnacle of motorsports in which I aim to be. And it's a very simple experience ladder, because the ultimate goal of every driver is to win. And it's pretty much the same mentality as everyone on the grid. Anyone who is doing high-end sports or has brought their business up to another level, a sort of binding of trust. It's that sort of mentality that really brings people up to the top, and that's what your followers, your fans, is what looks at you the most. They want to see a confident name, a confident person, whether it be a business, whether it be a sport, a confident person going up and having their ambitious goals to the top and making it. That is the sort of trust people want and the sort of experience people want. And this comes very much in close relationship between a driver and the businesses. They correlate very well together because of the amount of trust and the amount of experience that that binds the two together. So followers and fans, they will get the winning experience of a driver, but it's also the companies and the people who back the driver, the people who are always with the driver to say, I'm with you 24/7. It's sort of that trust binding is what is reciprocated to the customers, the fans. And that sort of trust will only get greater and greater as a company and a driver stick together. And this I've learned because take Michael Schumacher days. This is back way into like the legendary era of Formula One. He had his legendary sponsor, and he had a sponsor as well with him the entire way, which was actually Shell gas station. And Shell has therefore made a huge when people think of Michael Schumacher, obviously they know that Shell was one of his biggest backing up, right? And those two together is what made the combination and made him a multi-world champion at that international level. And that is what really separates the pack. And it's really that sort of trust which is reciprocated onto customers. It's that sort of experience towards it. And obviously the driver itself has to say that none of this can be done without the sponsor support or company support, and such that the trust between the two are very well linked together. So my goal, as I've said, is I want to race in Formula One. And even though I am born and brought up in the US, I have very deep Indian roots, connections, and I have multiple family members in India. And trust me, I love to go to India. And COVID has stopped me from traveling to India very recently, but I am very close into going there again, and I cannot be ever so excited. Having such great parents as well guide me towards me, really setting me on the path, and really understanding my cultural roots has been an absolute blessing for myself. And it's also the reason why I am going to be driving under the Indian flag whenever I race, all the way up to F1. Even though I'm born and brought up in the US, even though the US is my motherland and will always be, but there is always the connection deep inside me between my Indian roots, my heritage, and my family. So I have decided that, and I cannot be any more excited. And of course, F1 is the pinnacle of motorsports, the highest level of excellence. And India being a very developing country, a very rapidly developing country, both in the sports industry, making a name on the world stage, and really showing the amount of dedication, the amount of hard work everyone in India, every athlete they put into racing, and having a name in F1, win a championship for them. That's the sort of pride I want to bring to India. That is my ultimate dream. It's sure, I would love to win a world championship, and that is my ultimate goal. But the sheer joy of winning it for India, that country, to develop and to really show that sort of cultural roots that I display is going to be the greatest joy for myself. And that's what I'm saying. I would love to as well, just since I'm going to be racing under the Indian flag, I'll also love to bring an Indian team with me or Indian companies with me, because F1 is a very high stakes, but a very rewarding stakes place. And when you have that sort of reciprocating trust towards companies and that sort of experience, but helps not only just the driver to realize their dream, but it's a win-win situation for everyone. People understand the trust and relation between that driver, and not only that, when you have two India pockets in your name, you can do wonders. And that's just how it's been, and that's how we're just built. So it's great, and I'm really excited to go to my next championship and really just race under the Indian flag and really show what I've got. And I would love to bring an Indian team with me and really see in the future what sort of championships I could be doing with them as well. And yeah, I cannot be ever so more excited. I will want to give you and to leave you with a thought that I have learned that people will forget what you have said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that is a very powerful statement because actions do dictate a lot. As you know, actions speak louder than words, but what's even greater than actions is the feelings that it's made you, right? The feeling, that sort of aura that has been created after a certain action or anything is what sticks with you forever. And obviously, no one wants a negative impact or a negative feeling around anyone. And we want to win. We want to go for the win, and we want to go for the top. And the way we want to feel is just have our heads up in pride, winning that championship and going down the aisle with that trophy in our hand. So thank you so much. I know it was great, great opportunity, and thank you for listening.
Wow, Athar, this has been so very exciting, and you're so committed to taking the Indian flag high. I'm sure we'll have some great brands getting associated with you, taking the Formula One dream forward. I think India on the global scale, Athar is the leader there. Beautiful. Any questions for
My name is
Athar? I think outstanding at this young age, Athar. Lots of best wishes to you. I'm sure we'll have a lot
Thank
of
you so much.
followers, and you will take it very, very far. So we are very, very excited having you here. Thank you so much for your time, for joining in.
Atharva
And I'm
Desai.
sure if there are any more questions, people may want to ask you. Otherwise, I think
And I am a Formula racing driver.
Yes, thank you. And enjoy this video on seatbelt safety and responsibility.
It takes me 5 minutes to wear all of my seatbelts and ensure the safety of myself and others. It requires less than 5 seconds to simply wear your seatbelt. Are you wearing your seatbelt?
Yeah, because I made this message some time ago as well, because I realized that having cars more bloomed in India as well is very, and people not necessarily getting the education or the real safety implications of simply wearing a seatbelt. I had to create an analogy with my race car that going at high level speeds, safety is the utmost priority, whether it is even commuting to work, whether it is even just going to a nearby grocery store 1 minute away. Safety should be the number one thing regardless. No matter what, I believe that safety is the most important. For me, as the video has stated, I wear 5 harnesses on myself attached to the car. Make sure I am not at all moving. That's just the amount of safety that is required for going that fast. And it's modern technology has developed so much. Just at a click of a seatbelt, very simple, will just save your life. It's very easy, and I really made this message as a PSA to really bring awareness for that.
Awesome. We really needed this message because we've had some very bad instances in the country, and we as a nation are realizing the importance of seatbelt. So thank you so much, Athar, for bringing this out, and very, very important for all of us to follow this guidelines. Thank you so very much.
Thank
Uh,
you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Cool. Lovely.